welcome back to a brand new episode of Making a Casino in Minecraft. We're still on the Blackjack, obviously, and this is the card reader and binary encoder behind me. So as we left off in the previous episode, we saw the white line, which was the player register or player point counter. And I told you about this binary decoder where it shot out the number of items equivalent to the value of the cards. So like 10 through king would shoot out 10 items, a 2 card would shoot out 2, 5 would shoot out 5 obviously. But the trick is, how did we get there? I'm going to show you how we got to those binary decoders with the droppers over there by explaining this. This might look complex, but I guarantee you it's pretty simple. We're going to start with this purple line right here. So obviously you see these two inputs. This is a line that basically is calling a card. So every single time you want to draw a card for one of the players or the dealer, this will flash. And it goes into this dropper right here, which randomizes a non-stackable item and a stackable item. And so it'll randomly pick one of these two. There's a 50-50 chance it'll be this one and a 50-50 chance that it'll be this dropper. And in this dropper, we have all the odd numbers and odd tens, so ace, 3, 5, 7, 9, jack, king. And this one has 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, queen. So either an odd card will be called or an even card will be drawn, and it'll go into this item sorter right here. So the odds will travel down this line right here, and the evens will travel down that side. So right here you'll see 6s, 8, 10, queen, and then obviously all the odd cards, ace through king. And you see this item sorter right here, where let's say a king gets shot out of here, it'll go down this line to the king slot, and this will flash on, turning on this repeater, turning off this torch, allowing this to drain one item. But while it's draining one item, this is powered once, and right here is the binary encoder, the black. But to still focus on the purple, yeah, so a random card gets called, goes through the system, and it'll punch out something in the binary encoder. And this is the same for the even side. Now I optimized this when I split it in half, because if you look over at the original Blackjack, right here has all the odds and this one has all the evens, and then it had to go across the entire length. So by splitting it up into two item sorters, the furthest card only has to travel half the distance. And that is really nice because hopper speed was one of the limiting factors in this design. Now, moving on to the binary encoder, this black bit right here. So every single time you want to, let's say a king, that's going to be 10. So to get to 10, you need to add 2 and 8. So as you can see, there's a redstone torch right here for 2 and a redstone torch here for 8. And it just skips the 1 and the 4. And then it stacks up one more level. And here is the 8 line, and here's the 2 line. And as you can see, it follows right here, where the 8 plugs in here and then comes out to the 8 droppers on each player's register. And then the 2 follows up here, goes up this torch elevator right here, and comes out here to where all the 2 droppers are. And that is as simple as binary encodings can get. And then over here, as you can see, there's 2, 4, and 8. Obviously, there doesn't need to be a 1 because these are all even numbers. So the queen and 10 will both be the same. Let's say you had 7. You would need 4 plus 2 plus 1 because all that equals 7. So, and 7 is right here. So 1, 2, and 4 gets us 7. It doesn't get much easier than that. And then it shoots out the droppers. Then there's this purple right here. This is basically just an item sorter to get the odds in this dropper and the evens in this hopper. So because time isn't really that big of an issue because you're already waiting for everything to reset at the end of the game. So you have your king, queen, and just, yeah, it sorts it into these 2 droppers. The way the system knows who to send the binary signal to is through these sticky pistons right here. As I told you in the previous episode, these red lines are the player selector. So like whoever's currently playing, this red line will stay on until it is somebody else playing. And it pushes up this sticky piston, which pushes up this block, that block, that block, and that block. So every single time that there's a signal that's been sent through, it'll go to these droppers only if these pistons are extended because of the red line. And then you might be asking yourself, what about ace? Because if you want ace to be low, you don't do anything. If you want ace to be high, you press the input saying, hey, I want my ace to be high. So as you can see right here, here's ace, and it goes to this automatically. No matter what, every single time you draw an ace, there's going to be 1, so it goes to the 1 slot, and that gets shot out to the person's storage. Then if you follow this line right here, it comes around and it goes into this system right here. Don't worry about that, that's the dealer. I'll be talking about the dealer's ace when I talk about how the dealer operates. So we have this. Like with this piston being extended up, this piston will be extended down. So every single time an ace is drawn, if that player is active, it'll shoot an item from this dropper. Whoops, sorry about that. That's probably from cleaning up. Shoot an item into this hopper, and this hopper will stay locked until obviously the reset signal that we talked about last episode. And then that player has an ace in their storage. So if they wanted to do an ace high eventually, all they would need to do is wait for it to be their turn, so the red light to be on them, and then there's an input. So there's a button that says ace high, and that's this signal line right here, which turns it into a much shorter pulse. So let's say this player has, oh wait, no, I was right to have 4 in there, because there's potentially 4 aces that could be drawn. So let's say this player has 3 aces drawn and he wants one of them to be high or something like that. Then there will be 3 aces in this hopper. And now there's this signal that's being sent through, turning off this torch. This is a classic AND gate where both of these torches need to be off in order to send a signal up, which will send a signal to the 10, so 2 and 8. That's what this torch tower is. It's connecting 2 and 8 to the ace in case they press high. So this signal right here is player input saying, hey, I want my ace to be high. So it'll put it into this monostable circuit, shortening this pulse, turning off this torch for the same length of time that it would take for one item to leave this hopper. And then there's also this signal that comes here that turns off this torch, so that if there is an ace in your system and you press ace high, this torch will be off and this torch will be off, sending a signal to the 10. So let's say I get a redstone block. Let's make it so this player is running, and this has 3 this person had apparently drawn 3 aces. So I'll put a signal through here, and because it's active, it goes through here, turning off this torch, getting rid of one of the items, and also firing out the 10 items here to be put into storage. They probably just shot off there down to the ground because I didn't put a catcher. And that's the ace all figured out. The last thing that I want to discuss is this blue line right here. So let's say you draw a card, even or odd. The card will eventually be able to be brought down through thanks to the item sorter, and it'll do the binary signal, but then it needs to be returned to the player's hand or the dealer's hand. So even cards follow this hopper chain and odd cards follow this hopper chain. And it all collects right here into this hopper line right here. So player 2 is on, as you saw with the ace, I turned on player 2, and that turns on this signal right here, turning off this torch right here. Because of that, if there's a card that is drawn even or odd, once it goes through, it'll be able to flow down through this line, and it'll go to this dropper right here. If player 3 was active, it'll flow down, I think, that line right there and end up right here. And player 4, this one will turn off, going to this hopper or dropper right here, and it'll be returned up to the player. And then obviously this right here is the dealer line. So this will, I think in that down there, you can see the dealer's card gets returned there because it falls from the sky and into the hopper where you can check the shulker box. So this eventually just keeps going down until it gets put into a dropper that automatically fires out. And then it gets returned to the players that way. I have this powered literally by going like this because I just couldn't fit any more redstone in. So I literally have a repeater, like that. And it's just constantly firing these droppers all the time because I just couldn't fit anything else. It gets really crammed down here. I think you can see the system right here. Probably could have moved this closer, but that doesn't really matter. But as you see, there's these ice lines going around. All of the ice is the player return, and it gets put into these dropper elevators up to where your player is. And there we go. This covers the calling of a card, the card randomizer, the card binary encoder, and the ace decoder, as well as the card return to player and player card return to the system. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching.